Hey guys, so today's presentation is about culture. Why is culture important? What type of things you can experience, and also, most importantly, what culture means to you. So, would anyone like to give their interpretation on what they think culture is? Okay, so in my personal opinion, I think that culture is a way that you're raised, the way you're brought up, values and morals that you have within your family that you are raised with. Now, this can include customs, any social groups, art, a group or setting of people. For instance, my family is a Caribbean family, but we are also from New York City and New Orleans. And when you take those two different places, the culture, two different things. In New Orleans, it's more Southern. We have Creole and French influences. My family on my dad's side are Native Americans, so they speak a native tongue. They speak Creole and they speak French. My family in New York speak English. Things are more fast paced. It's a different kind of beast in both places, but they both hold two different and, most importantly, culture from these different places: Louisiana, New York, and the Caribbean. Anywhere you go in this world, you will experience culture. All right. So now that we have the borderline of what culture is, the question that I want to ask you guys is, how would you know what your culture is, or how would you determine that? When you think about that, you can think about the things that your parents have taught you, the things that are socially accepted where you're from, and also things that you experience, not only as a child, but as an adult, because you can move away from the place that you were born at and then move somewhere else and experience that and live within that type of culture or that type of means. All right. So now that we have the borderline of that, we will get into traveling. When you travel, you go to different places. And when you go to these different places, the cultures are different. For example, I am a military spouse who works and has 6 children. And so far, we've lived in multiple states in the US, but we've also lived in South Korea, and we currently reside in Germany. Going from America to South Korea was a bit of a culture shock because they do things differently there. When you say hello, you have to stretch your hand out as a sign of respect. When you see older people, you bow and you say hello, which in Korean is namasayo. And the most important thing is, when you travel these different places, research on what's culturally acceptable and what's not acceptable. So this way, it's not like you're disrespecting someone from where they're from, or just, I don't want to say being ignorant, but not doing your due diligence to understand the way that they do things and how things are done, the foods that they eat, and just be accepting. Now, the thing is, you don't always have to like something to experience something. When you go these places, I suggest you try new foods, speak to locals, because the most surprising thing is you can meet people who have the same values, the same customs as you, but live in two separate places opposite in the world. Like, I met a young lady in Korea who was a mom, she was a spouse, she worked, and The only thing that was different was some of the Korean cultures that they had and their values versus some of the Caribbean values that I have and my Creole values that I carry and that I also embed in my children. My children knows the type of foods that we eat. Gumbo, etouffee, crawfish pies. In New York City, we eat pizza and things like that. Can't forget Chinese food. But then it's also when we got to Korea, my kids were like, oh, the Chinese food tastes so different. I don't like it. It's not that you don't like it, it's one, things are made differently. When you have someone who migrates to another place, things change. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's more so a respect for you wanting to, learn about the culture, see how the people are, interact with them, and get a sense of, okay, this may be out of my normal, but it is okay. So when it comes to these things, research, you know, talk with people that have also been to these different type of places so that they can give you some suggestions, some pros and some cons on what's good. And one thing that I or my children and I have experience with moving to Germany was a huge culture shock. And it wasn't really a culture shock from going from New York to Korea, because South Korea is advanced in technology and everything like that. But in Germany, the community that we live in is very small. It's very old fashioned, still have brick homes, and it was different. And it was even different from me coming from South Korea to Germany. I didn't think that it would be much of a difference, but there was. And basically, what culture shock is the feeling of being disoriented or confused with the sudden change. And the sudden change from going to a place that was upbeat, like New York, to coming to something that's slower paced, and then here in Germany, Sundays are a day of rest. You can't wash your cars. You can't play any music in your cars loud while you go. Versus coming from someplace on Sundays, it's a hair day, getting ready for the kids, grocery shopping, getting ready for the week, to a place where there's no movement. If you need things done, they're done on Saturdays. So I would suggest everyone to just get out and explore. You don't always have to like something. And one thing my mom always told me is to try is to fail and to do is to succeed. When you do these things and you experience it, you might end up liking it. And it will broaden your horizons, and you would really, really get a chance to experience all of these different places around the world. Most importantly, get stamps in your passport and experience this, and let your children know, like, hey, I've been here, I've been there. Like, just go for it. Culture is not bad. It's fun. It's different everywhere, but you got to experience it, and you got to get up and you got to get out and do it. Thank you.